Yo, I'm Matt Williamson. What's shaking? I promised you that I would have a lot of Football Outsiders, FTN Fantasy, DVOA, defensive nuggets for the Steelers, and I am not going to disappoint. There is a lot here to unpack, and let's just dig right in. Going to be a full show. So, I mentioned the DVOA is how they rank, and again, I urge you to get this guide. Is how it's just their form of ranking. It's very accurate. It's very well done. It's very analytically based. But the Steeler defense has only finished outside the top 12 in DVOA twice since 2015. It's pretty good. I mean, it's just a consistent level of being in the top third of the league over the last decade, 8 out of 10 years, basically. Now we'll get into more specific stuff. How about this? They have this metric that they call, quote, late and close situations. Really when the game is on the line. And this might surprise you, but the Steeler defense ended up being second in DVOA in late and close situations. How about that? So, also, I'm going to try to rapid fire these a little bit more. Steelers defense got noticeably better the more defensive backs they employed, and they did their worst work against multiple tight end sets. So when they faced two or more tight ends, the Steelers defense really struggled. Did that factor in? And where I'm going with this is the Ramsey-Minka trade. Did that factor in that in some regard? Maybe Ramsey's going to play man coverage against Likely or Andrews or Gesicki or something like that, where Minka was too far off the ball. But I do think it's notable and also real newsworthy that the more defensive backs they had on the field, the better they were. Nickel was better than base. Dime was better than nickel. You see what I'm saying? They also have this metric, I mentioned it yesterday, where how often they put cornerback 1 versus wide receiver 1. People don't shadow like the Revis, Dion days, but we know that Porter does more of that than most. So the Steelers were 8th highest percentage in utilizing cornerback 1 versus wide receiver 1. But then they go into this and they said, here's a statistical conundrum. And I find this interesting. Pittsburgh was the best team against enemy number 1 wideouts. But top corner, Joey Porter Jr., had a terrible success rate. And the general consensus was he took a step backwards in 2024. But a closer look reveals Porter was very good by coverage when he played top receivers, which was often. Again, we said they were 8th in the league in that regard. But he struggled when matched up with other guys, although T. Higgins is one of them. So he was better against top receivers than he was against number 2s. Weird. And then they say maybe Porter just needs the challenge. Their coverage metrics reward defenders for preventing targets. So Porter was doing the job while mentally engaged. So does that factor in the Ramsey move? That we're just not going to have you follow. We'll just keep you engaged on your side of the field. Or I just think there's a lot of ways to look at that, that maybe he does need to be all geared up to play against an opponent's 1 all day long. And then when he gets reps against the 2, I'm just not as into it. Is that an immaturity thing? I'm just throwing out questions. I don't have answers to that, but I found that really interesting. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number 1 source for all your sports betting action. With baseball season in full swing, BetOnline has more ways to stay in on the action with the latest odds, news, and scores, even live in-game betting while the games are being played. We keep the dog days with summer rolling with the largest selection of odds on everything. With updated odds on MLB, UFC, and boxing to tennis and NFL futures, BetOnline remains the best online source for all your sports wagering info. In between games, head over to the BetOnline Casino with all the top Vegas-style games, including poker and live casino. BetOnline, the game starts here. So the Steelers are almost always near the top of the league in the gap of where their two safeties make their play. That's how nerdy these guys get. And that was true again. That Minka's average play made was at 12.8 yards downfield, deep, where Elliott was only at 7.1. So more than just about any team out there, the Steelers really employ a strong and a free. Well, what do we unpack from that? Again, I'm tying these into the trade. Maybe they want to do less of it. That's my guess, is let's play more cover 2, cover 4, a little less predictable schemes and where our guys are going to be. And I think this trade implies that. This was a little shocking, though. This is the 4th straight year where the Steelers' opponents threw over the middle of the field a lot. 26% of the passes against the Steelers went to the middle, only behind the Packers. And this figure was even higher than 26% in 2021, 2022, and 2023. However, they were 8th best against passes in the middle of the field last season. My hunch, again, the numbers can tell a story for you. Maybe you just don't want to hold the ball long enough to drive the ball outside the numbers down the field. It's just a little bit of a longer throw. I don't know. I think that might be a pass rush related number there. This is crazy. Pittsburgh's pressure rate with 4 pass rushers was 4th in the league. And it was nearly as high as its pressure rate with 5 or more pressures, which is 32%, which is 29th. So when they brought 4, they created a pressure on 31.4%, 4th best. But with 5 or more, it was only at 32%, which is almost exactly the same, which is 29th. Does that mean they shouldn't blitz? I wouldn't say that. I've been pushing for more blitz. Maybe they should recognize their designs of blitzes. Is it becoming too predictable who is blitzing? Now, I believe they have as good a 4-man pass rush as any team in the league. And frankly, they did not rush 5 often. Usually when they blitzed, they were a heavier 6 pressure team than they are 5 pressure team, relatively speaking, to the other teams in the league. So maybe it's just somewhat of a small sample size and an anomaly. But it's kind of weird that you're getting pressure at the same rate when you bring 4 as you are 5 and even 6. You guys might not realize, but one of the best tackling defenses in the league, 4th best in broken tackles rate. And Elliott was the 2nd best in the league. I bet that doesn't shock you. I mean, he was as sure as tackler as anyone but one dude in the whole league. This to me is not an indictment on TJ Watt, but he was the Steelers defender that they dubbed with the most missed tackles with 11. I think a lot of those, though, are flying in the backfield, just getting a piece of, a running back that, Watt destroys at the line of scrimmage. I definitely don't look at him as a bad tackler at all. Okay, so they also have this last thing I'm going to wrap up here with, back to Watt. They have a stat that they call a defeat on defense. And you gain a defeat by stopping from gaining a first down on 3rd or 4th down, money downs, you make a play to prevent a first down, or you stop the offense behind the line of scrimmage, or the play results in a fumble or an interception. So this stat really favors off the ball linebackers. They're making plays on 3rd and 4th down, 8 yards downfield on 3rd and 10, things like that. Crossing route over the middle, screen pass, they blow it up before the sticks. But still, Watt ended up 3rd on the list of most defeats in the league last year despite being a line of scrimmage player. That's pretty awesome. I got to admit, that is pretty awesome. It's much easier for the off-the-ball guys to be on top there. He was also second in the entire league in knocking quarterbacks down. Quarterback knockdowns. Nobody put quarterbacks on their back, not necessarily sacks, but putting them on their back. Only one player did more than Watt. So, thought there was a lot there. Again, I love stats. I think they really help paint the picture, and a lot of these add up. And most of these, for the most part, make the Steelers' defense look better than maybe we remember. And I'll admit, I'm sure some of the better stuff happened earlier in the season against lesser opponents as opposed to late in the season against elite opponents, obviously. But this is over the course of the regular season. All right, everyone. I will probably end my week with you guys on a mailbag. So let me have them. All right, over and out.